Hello, I'm speaking with you again this week from Emmanuel United Church in Waterloo, Ontario, and in Canada we are celebrating Thanksgiving this weekend. But I must begin by saying that we have a problem, and the problem is how do we stay alive? We are challenged, we are stretched today by finances. We've had a long history, but how do we remain open far into the future? One of the Thanksgiving passages is from John 6, where the people are asking Jesus for a sign. And it occurred to me that the sign that we most want from God today is a sign we already have. It's the church sign that sits out on our front yard. Dear God, can we please continue to have that sign in that yard with our name on it, which means that we are still open. We want to stay open, and not just open, but we want to be successful. We want others to point at us and to say, "Oh, now there is a successful church." But the problem is that Jesus does not call us to be successful or even to survival, but rather Jesus calls us to be poured out. Well, how do we stay alive and be poured out at the same time? And what good are we to anyone if we are closed? What good are we to anyone if we are dead? And it seemed to me, well, isn't that a great question to put to Jesus? What good are you to anyone if you are dead? Staying alive? Being poured out? The moderator of the United Church, David Giuliano, sent out a letter to the entire denomination this past week. And in it, he says, the health and vitality of our congregations depends not on clever strategy on how to get people into the pews, but rather the health and vitality of our congregations depends upon our response to the suffering of the world around us. He then says that Jesus puts it even more starkly in the Gospel of Mark when he says, those who want to save their life will lose it, but those who lose their life for my sake and for the sake of the gospel will save it. So we need to continually rediscover not how to save our life, but how to give it away for the sake of the gospel, the risen Christ in this world. And he closes by saying, I pray that our preoccupation with how to get people into the church is transformed into a passion for getting the church out into the world. So more important than how we get people into the church is how we send them out. It's quite a letter. And so this dilemma between staying alive and being poured out, what do we do? I don't know entirely, but I am encouraged when I am reminded that the end of the Jesus story is not death. Well, in fact, that there is no end to the Jesus story. But by the time we reach the final page of our New Testament Gospels, the final word is resurrection. So then how do we live this rising? Well, again, that tension, staying alive, being poured out. Also, in John chapter 6, Jesus is saying, I am the bread of life. I remember growing up that another word for money was bread. I need some bread, man. That was a cool way of saying, hey, I need some money. I need some cash. And here we have Jesus saying, I am the bread of life. Is he saying, I am the money of life? Now, I know it is absolutely repulsive to say that Jesus is money, but maybe because it is repulsive, it has some insight for us. If Jesus is the money of life, it is the kind of currency that is absolutely useless unless it is spent on others, unless it is given over to the suffering of this world. And just like the manna of the Israelites in the desert that spoiled if it was held or hoarded even overnight, This currency is useless unless it is poured out, given away to community and to the world. So staying alive, being poured out. What is the answer? I don't know. But again, I am encouraged when again our moderator reminds us of the words of Jesus. Be not afraid. Fear not, little flock, for it is God's pleasure to give you the kingdom. So whether we're celebrating Thanksgiving early in October or at the end of November, the presence of the risen and rising Christ in our midst, is that not something for which to be thankful? Amen.